All right, testing. 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Testing. 1, 2, 3. Hello. Okay, I really hope you all can hear me. When I did this before, I was doing it on I was doing it on my computer, but I had Zoom open so I could tell if I was talking. So hopefully, people can hear me. So hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Brittany Glenn White. I go by Dr. V. I am your Brilliance solutionist, life coach, expansion strategist. And I'm just jump right into it because if you really want to know all about me, I have things on my channel. So I am going to be doing a demonstration. If you saw the thumbnail, it says what is self-expansion demo style. And I've been wrestling with this concept of self-expansion for quite some time. And I didn't realize that I was already immersed in this work before I started working in the personal development self-help industry. As an educator, K-12 mathematics teacher, college professor, I've always helped people expand a version of themselves. But then I was like, how does that relate to what I'm doing now as far as life coaching? Because when teaching students and other working with other teachers when I was a consultant, you would expand their ideas of what it means to be an educator, what it means to be a teacher. For the children, what does it mean to expand your view of the world and your perspective? But what about this life coaching? So I was like, all right, let me do a demonstration. It's going to be a lot of water involved. I'm a little nervous because I have all of my technology. So if you're chatting and I don't respond, it's not because I don't want to, it's because I'm about to cover up my keyboard. And then I have this keyboard off to the side and I'm going to get right into it. So, self expansion, a lot of people probably don't realize what it is. We hear personal development, personal growth, life coaching, get your life together, and things like that. But I was like, but what does all that really mean? What does that even mean? So, we're going to do some demonstrations and hopefully that answers the question. And if you want me to clarify anything else, I will do so. All right. So, I'm going to sit down and I want you to just see the because this is the star of the show. So, as I was working through my own personal development, transformational journey, and things like that, I I had a coach, and I mean, she's still my coach, and she always says, like, serve from fill your cup. And I think a lot of us have heard, especially in personal development, you have to fill your cup first. It's almost like when you're going on an airplane and they say put your own oxygen mask on first before you can help someone else, because what's the point of you trying to save someone else and you're dying too? And so the same concept applies in personal growth and personal development. You want to make sure your cup is full. So a lot of times we give, especially if you are a high achiever, a leader, a top performer, an influencer, someone who, the responsible one. You're always giving. And we think there's no big deal because we have the answers. I have a whole moniker called the Brilliant Solutionist because I can solve people's problems. Now, that's why I have my own coaches, because sometimes I can't solve my own problems. But seriously, people do come to me for advice all the time. And maybe that comes from, being a teacher and educator. It's like you're supposed to know the answers. And this is before I got doctor in front of my name, right? So even with that, I'm constantly pouring out. Sometimes I give, answers and solve problems, and people don't ask me to do that. But anyway, and then we go through life, and it's like, gosh, I feel empty inside. Well, I have nothing left to give. I like the episode of The Cosby Show when Claire was talking. All the kids were coming at her after long days of work, and she just got so overwhelmed. But she was like, Cliff, I have nothing left to give. And he had to send her off to a cabin. And I kind of had that moment. I went, to my own personal retreats. I spent like a whole week in Turks and Caicos just getting my life together. And it really was pouring back inside of me because I didn't realize how empty my cup had been. So a lot of us, we come born with full containers. And then so this, we're born like this, So I'm gonna take my time because this is a one-time demo because we're live. All right, so we come full, right? But then as time goes on, things keep coming out. Like, and I don't have a spoon because I don't want to make too much of a mess. But every time we give someone advice or we give them attention, we give them energy, love, money, anything that we give to people, that takes away from our cup. So our cup goes down and down and down. And what happens is we don't have enough to fill our tank. So that's what it means. That's pretty in my so this is Dr. V's interpretation. So personal development, personal growth, and self-help is all about filling your cup so you can be a service for yourself and others. Cool. We get that. A lot of us are doing that now. Life coaching or the coaching industry has become an actual profession now. People have had coaches and mentors, consultants, counselors, all of those things. I'll include therapists in there as well. I'm not saying therapy, we already talked about this. Therapists and coaches are different, but I'm saying all of these things have helped you fill your cup, right? So then you're like, okay, I'm feeling good. I'm getting back to myself. I'm recharged. I'm rejuvenized, rejuvenated, right? So then you start saying, okay, now I'm going to keep learning more about myself. So your cup is full and then it starts to overflow, right? So my coach, and if you don't know, one of my coaches is Lisa Nichols. I'm not saying that to name drop, but I do think it's important, for people who say that they're going to be coaches to have their own coach or to have been coached by someone. Okay. So anyway, she always says serve from your overflow. So the goal is that you stay in personal development, self-help so you can always keep your cup full so that way you're serving people from your overflow. So can you see it? So you're not feeling depleted like, oh, I have nothing left to give. You don't have the resentment from people when you're giving advice, giving money, giving love, and they don't return it. That's the thing. Can you hold your triggers and everything, enough to where if people don't treat you how you think they should treat you, are you still okay? Are you still solid? Are you holding your triggers? That is very important. What state are you in? And then serving from your overflow. So if I'm giving you money, I'm not going to work. And now, when I say this is not an excuse, but follow me. If someone needs money and I give them money and they say, oh, I'm going to pay you back, the saying is you never give money that you can't afford not to see or don't expect to be paid back with that gesture. Now, don't get me wrong, like give me my money back if you owe me, but it shouldn't come from a place where I can help you, but in 2 weeks I'm gonna need that back. That is not serving from your overflow. You want to be able to give the money, and if they never return it, you don't hurt yourself. So you're not giving money your your bank, right? Like your needs, you're giving from your overflow. Same thing with time. You don't want to tell somebody that you're going to meet with them, help them with their project, and then you rush because you have something else to do. You want to give from your time, like, oh yeah, I've cleared my schedule, I am here for you. So that's serving from your overflow. Same thing with, I guess, love. You can love someone if they don't return that love back to you. It's okay. It takes nothing from you because you are serving from your overflow. So I think that is great. I think a lot of us have gotten to the point where we're filling our cup and is going to the overflow. See, we're serving from our overflow. So now, what does this have to do with self expansion? Trying to check comments if anyone's watching. Okay. What does it have to do with self expansion? Self expansion, in my opinion, and from research, it goes a step further. So, in scientific language, think of it like this: the world, the earth is always expanding. I'm not going to say the actual numbers because I actually forgot, but it's like I think the world expands 4 miles every minute or something like that. Don't quote me, but it's really fast and it means it's growing. When you put water into a balloon, it expands, right? And then when things expand, they never can go back to their original shape. Just like if you stretch out a rubber band and you expand, it can never go back to its original state. So I think a lot of us have learned how to serve from our overflow. But then we serve from the overflow, but then it keeps then when this is empty, we come back up here and fill this up and it goes back to overflow. We serve from our overflow, we keep filling up, right? So that's it never ends. But self-expansion is different. It takes it a step further. And I have, if you all can see my setup over here, you know what? I'm gonna take a picture, and if you go on maybe my Instagram stories today, I want you to see this. I want you to see that setup. All right. So self expansion. This is still you. All right. Come on, V. You got this. So self expansion means I think you're going to get a bigger overflow. You're going to get a bigger saucer. So remember, I said a lot of people say serve from your overflow, which is your saucer or your container down here. Because what a lot of people don't have, a lot of people don't have the container. Let me back that up. A lot of people don't have a container. They are filling up themselves, and it's just all over the place, and then they're wondering like, well, I want to be of service, I want to be of help, but they're not in a container to where they can give it to the right people. So let's say that, but not you. You have your container, you're full. So now what? I'm gonna pour a little bit out of this. So now we're gonna go into expansion. In my opinion, expansion means you get a bigger container to hold your overflow. So this is your overflow. So you see how this is bigger than this. This is bigger than this. This is an expanded version of this. So instead of us keep going to personal development to fill our cups just so we can overflow into the small container, self expansion is about expanding, getting a bigger container, building your capacity to hold more. In the education space, we always talking about build capacity, build capacity. And it's really about empowering teachers and leaders to do the work. Like after a consultant or trainer comes in and it says, all right, learning about this mathematics in this curriculum. I'm going to teach you how to do this, but here are the tools so you don't need me to always come in. I can come in and check and progress monitor, but you don't need me to do it for you. You now have the capacity, the knowledge, the skill set to do it on your own. So building capacity, expanding your capacity to hold. So like in the coaching space, we talk about, can you hold the space for someone? Can you be that rock if someone dumps everything they have on you emotionally, all of their problems? Can you be the rock for them, or are you going to go in the corner and cry with them, or are you going to break from their story and they're like, I came to you for help and now I'm consoling you. So, if someone dumps everything on you, can you still hold the space without you crumbling? So, you're filling your cup, which is great, but this is the part. This is what I work on. This is what I help people do. My zone of genius is helping you build your capacity to expand. So, you don't change as the cup. And I think sometimes in the coaching space, people are like, well, fix me. Something's wrong with me, or I need to do something better. You can't do anything better. You are you. You were born how you were born. What you can do, and this is another demonstration I may do later, I learned, but you can clear all the junk out of you so you can remain as pure as possible. When I say pure, I mean as close to how you were created as possible without all of the head trash, because we're born perfect as children, but then as society, as we go into society, live in the world, just external factors cloud things up, and then that's why we spend a lot of our time undoing and unlearning. So there's nothing wrong with you. You are perfect. You just got clouded. But anyway, so this now for self expansion is like, I'm still going to personal development, I'm still working on myself, I'm still improving, and now I'm still serving from my overflow, but guess what? I've expanded. So the more you can still work on yourself, you're not you're not in this container. So it's like, it's not like, so this overflow, I can't see. I hope you can see it. Oh shoot, don't. So it's like this overflow, it can handle a lot more because you've expanded your capacity for more. And then that way your cup never goes empty. And I wish I had a continuous cycle, because that's what it is. It's a continuous cycle of you being, oh shoot, got a little heavy. Oh snap. So it's like, it's a good, all right, there we go. So let's say like the fountain is a continuous pour, like you're always getting divine downloads, you're always improving yourself, you're always getting more knowledge, you're always learning more about who you were born to be. And the more you do that, the more things can pour out, the more loving you are, the more joyous you are, the more abundance you have, the more freedom you have, and the more of that goes into your overflow. But then it's like, well, how do you maintain that? And I think what I've seen in the coaching industry is that people are filled up with all of this, but then it drops. It has nowhere to go. It's like, I have freedom, but then what? I have more money, but then what? I have more time, but then what? Things that we're always trying to seek after. I have this business, now what? I'm growing in my career, now what? We need a container to hold it and to do what with that. So if you saw my thumbnail for this video, I'm in a studio. And I'm giving an example of expansion. I'm in the studio. It was an event with Lisa Nichols. We were in the Bahamas, and I would have never thought about that had I not been, like, when I was a K-12 teacher, I would give presentations. Then from there, I started working at the district level and giving presentations there. And then when I became a college professor, of course I was teaching, but then I would go to conferences, well, in my doc program too, but I would go to conferences and present at those conferences in front of people in a different audience. And then so that was like mathematics. And then I started talking about diversity, equity, inclusion. Then I started talking about cultural responsiveness or cultural competence, whatever the phrase I used back then. So I started expanding my experiences in that. And then I got into the world of personal growth and personal development. I started bringing that to my students and started talking to them about that. And then on my own personal development journey, first I started off wanting to become a better speaker, to be a motivational speaker, like be on the stages and things like that, to get paid. I was like, I'm already talking to these people, let me get paid to do that. And then that's when things started coming up, things that I had to deal with. So then I was like, okay, I need to go on a retreat and not fix myself, but remove those blockages so I can be powerful on stage. All of that led to me being on a virtual, well, it was virtual. I was there live, but the event Lisa had was virtual. I was on her virtual stage, giving a presentation. And that taught me that I am still the same person. I worked on myself. I was serving from my overflow, but then I built my capacity to hold more, and I was able to go on her stage without, like, oh my gosh, do I belong here? What am I going to say? Are people going to say anything about me? Are people going to judge me for not being a college professor? And all of those things. I worked on that well before I got there, right? So I hope you're making the connection. So what does it mean, like, if I didn't build the capacity to do that? What if I didn't build this capacity and I just stayed with my original saucer, like I'm good here? I think eventually I would have spilled over. So when I was a college professor, I did have opportunities to start doing consulting. So I was serving for my overflow. My classes were good. Then people saw me at a conference. Then I got a contracting job to work with a large school district and a large university. And I think I would have been swimming in that for a while, and then that would have filled up, but then that would have become like, all right, what's next? Because I when you serve from this overflow and you don't expand, it's still going to leak out somewhere. So it's a never ending cycle of, it's a fine line. Self-expansion to me is a fine line between being content but still wanting more, right? So can you be content with this space? So if you're learning more about yourself and then you get some more knowledge, it's not going to hold it. So instead of going back to the bottom, and that's the thing I'm just going to let this float. That's the thing I want to say. Instead of going back to this endless cycle of, all right, I got to go. Let me see, how can I say this? So it's like when personal development and let me see, can you all see me? Let me slide this over. Personal development and self growth is like you're climbing up this ladder, right? You're climbing up the ladder. You're never going to reach the top of the ladder. And I've been listening to Abraham Hicks and Esther Hicks. You're never gonna reach this top until you like die, right? Because it's like mission complete. So it's like you're always striving for more, but not more to where it's all about you. You're striving to be a better you so you can be a better service to your surrounding community. So you're always going up to improve yourself so you can have more impact, influence, and I'm going to say income because let's be real. So then, because you want more income, because so you can have more impact and influence and do more good in the world. So you're still going up, but when you're so this is personal development going up, and then when something stops you from going to the next level, personal development helps you like block and kick down that door or that level so you can go up. A lot of times, what happens is if you don't have anywhere to keep like if you don't build the foundation, like if you don't expand your foundation down here, you can potentially go back down for drop down into a deeper hole. Gosh, I hope that's making sense. I should have had a whiteboard behind me. So when you expand, let me say this. So when you're going doing your personal development work, oh gosh, this is this is what happens live, but it's okay. It's okay. When you're going up, in my opinion, personal development is like as you're going up, you're expanding the landing. I should say that you're expanding like the landing or the steps. So the more you go up, the more, room you have on the bottom. So it's not like these short steps. You're like, you know, lengthening your steps. Please let me know if that makes sense. So, but if you don't work on self expansion and you keep climbing, it's easier in my opinion, and I've seen it to where you can hit rock bottom. So you're doing well, you're going from 10 to 20 to 30 to 40, you're at 70. A life situation happens and it drops you back down to 10, and you're doing this work all over again. No judgment, but that's just what happens to some people. But if you're building your capacity as you're going on the steps and you're really doing the deep dive work and building your capacity to understand, you're enjoying the journey, you're learning the lesson that you're supposed to learn instead of like trying to fix yourself. You're like, all right, you're taking in this work, you're really taking it seriously, you're understanding, you're building out the landing. So if you go up and you're on 70 and life hits you, instead of you dropping back down to zero, you may only drop to like a 65 or 50 because you have that cushion, that capacity to hold you. Whew. I really do hope that makes sense. So, what does that look like? One, that could be being in a community to support you. So, building your capacity or being around people that can hold the space for you. You want to be in a container to where you can show up as your full, brilliant self, even when you're having your bobbles and your broke down thoughts sometimes. You want to be in a space where someone has more capacity to hold you because remember, both of y'all can't be crying in the corner. And it's different. Like I can cry with you and feel you, but I don't have to go down in the deep hole with you. Like I need to hold you so you don't go further down. And then you want to be in a place where someone can help you to build your capacity in a community like that. Continuing to have coaches and not just signing up like for programs is very different. A coach can teach you something being in their program, but those are more like coach consultants. I'm going to teach you something, but then walk you through the process. That's cool, But then what about later when you have to implement it? So I think that's great. Learning things that helps you, that fills your cup up. But then the work that you do when you're finished, that's how you're building your capacity. So being in the community, uh, always having like a culture mentor around you, and then doing the work yourself, those daily things, because you still have to do you. This is still you. And you're going to always have thoughts and ideas and things that are coming to you, and you're not going to always have a coach on speed dial. Even if, like, I work with one-on-one clients and they can talk to me, via messenger or whatever we use all the time, but it's not 24/7, you know and you don't want that. You want someone to be there with you. I'm with my high-end clients a lot, but I'm not with them 24/7. So you're going to have tools to filter out those things, and start building your own capacity with the tools that you're getting from your coaches, with the questions your coaches are asking you. And so so that you yourself, think about your thoughts. Use actual tools um to capture those thoughts. Hold those thoughts captive, and toss them out if they need to be tossed out. Or if you find yourself spiraling, you go get your journal and write, or whatever you need to do. That's also building your capacity, not just holding it and saying, "Oh, I'm going to personal development." And I was, listening to Tony Robbins, and I was on his summit, and whoo, that feels good. That is great. You are filling your cup. And then, but when it goes into the overflow, are you doing the work? Like when Tony leaves, when the summit is over, and it's 3, 4 weeks later, a month later, 5 months later, a year later, are you doing the work to build your capacity? Whew. So that's, to me, what self-expansion is not just pouring in to fill your cup and serving from your overflow. That is totally important. So even with this situation, if I had I probably should have did this, but that's anyway. If I had a bigger container, I would still have to pour it into myself, whether that's me doing the work, me getting self-help books, me praying, going to church, me getting a coach. I'm filling my cup. So this never gets empty ever again. Always stay in the work. But then now I'm working from people here, because the more I fill myself up, the more overflow I have to serve more people. But so I don't start resenting the people or feeling like I have nothing left to give, I have to get another container. I have to stretch myself. Another example is, if you are you can take your career. You're probably good at management. You've learned all the things, and you have people around you that you're supporting. Great. But what are you doing to make sure that you stay on your tippy toes? Who's stretching you, right? So maybe you go to, I don't know, a membership club, or maybe you go um to this other organization where you might not be an executive yet, but you surround yourself with executives or CEOs of companies, and you're listening to them. That's how you're building your capacity. That's how you are expanding. You may not have thought you want to be a CEO of a company, but putting yourself in that expanded environment, now when more things come to you, you don't wait until your capacity to hold something to that gets over to that gets full, overflowing. So self expansion is all about growing this container, not so much filling this up. This is always, you're going to always work on this. But I think the missing link is you're building your capacity. This right here, this container should never, it should never get to the point where it's overflowing, because now you're waiting too late. You don't want to get into a bigger container, and now it's going to take forever for you to feel whole again. You want to go just and widen it out, so that way. Here's another thing. You don't want it to be like, let me see if I can do this without making a whole full mess. Ah. All right, yeah, let me do that. All right, so here's an example. You don't want it to be, all right, V, take your time. I'm talking to myself, y'all. It's a lot of water and technology around here. All right. This is what you don't want. You don't want it to be like, all right. You don't want it to be like this is your overflow, but then this is your expansion, right? Because then it's like it's like, okay, you're gonna outgrow that too fast, and you're probably gonna start getting frustrated. I'm just being honest. You don't want to do that because then you're gonna start looking around like, why am I here? Why am I with these people? Even though you may not be as full, but it's gonna take you a while, and then you're gonna find yourself keep moving and hopping. I think a lot of times that's why people like change jobs so quickly because they haven't stretched themselves enough. But then you don't want to quickly go from this little cup, this overflow to this. And the reason, because notice I didn't start there. I started with something like this, right? The reason why you don't want to do that, and then again, my opinion, and from what I've seen in research and case study, that's what causes you to feel like an imposter. I know I said I don't like the term imposter syndrome, but I do understand why people use it. You don't want to do that. You don't want to jump so far because then you're going to forget that you are full, whole, and complete. Then you're going to start comparing yourself or feeling inadequate because you came from your container or your capacity is here, and you're so worried about, oh my gosh, how am I going to feel this? How am I going to fit in with this right here? So while I don't want you to make, you know, steps too small, I do want you to expand yourself and put yourself in environments where it stretches you, but not stresses you or cause you to revert to emptying this cup out, because then you're gonna start like either evaporating or it's gonna start going. You're gonna start evaporating. I don't have something to show this, but instead of you serving from your overflow, it's gonna be like a hole in both of these, and this is gonna just decline, and you're gonna end up seeing yourself as half empty or half full. And then we really got to do some work. So be careful like that. So I said all this to say is I do work with people one-on-one for coaching, and my coaching style is about self-expansion. What else can you do? Are you stretching yourself? How are you using your gifts and talents beyond your positions, titles, and degrees? Because you had a lot of gifts and talents before you went to school, right? So how do we tap into that? The other part is in my membership, Power Up Your Possibilities. What what are those dreams? It's a safe space, like an incubator. What are those dreams that you have not shared with anyone, your close friends, your community, your family, because they think that you should be good right where you are? They think, oh, well, you're doing successful. Why would you want to do that? Or you probably shared with someone and they laughed at and was like, "Oh, not you." Yeah, I've had all of that happen. I mean, I've been pretty much like people have supported me a lot, but I have had people laugh at certain ideas that I had shared before, and that kept me from not wanting to share with anyone else. But then I realized being in a community where people are dreaming just as big as you or bigger than you, it's like, wow, okay. And it starts opening up your mind to different things. I am in a membership. Like I never like I used to tell my students, I don't give you all work that I haven't done before. So when I was a mathematics teacher, I did every single problem that my students had, both at the K-12 level and the collegiate level or college level, however you want to say it. When I was doing consulting work or projects, I had already done those things. So I never do anything that I never tell people to do anything that I wouldn't do myself. So I've had my own high level coaches. I've been in programs. I have programs. So I am been in a membership. It's a money mindset membership. And it's really about, not being afraid to say, yeah, I want to make $1 million a month. and no one looks at you like, are you crazy? Because then someone else was like, oh, 1 million a month? I'm going for 1 million a week. And you're like, oh my gosh, okay. So while I do talk about money in the membership, it's a more holistic approach to your life. So if you're interested, that information is in the description bar below. It's called Power Up Your Possibilities. But even if you don't join, which I hope you do, or if you're like, I still want to work with you in a different capacity, you can get that information in the description as well. Ways to work with me. But even if you don't do any of those, I do want to leave you with this on this Teaching Tuesday, or whenever you decide to watch this. Always make sure your cup is full. Regardless of what you do, it is too much information, knowledge, love, support for you to ever feel depleted. You can read self help books, read your Bible, talk to friends, if you need to go to a therapist, if you need to have a coach. You want to always make sure you are full because you are your star player. Then, once this is full, you want to keep going so you can serve people from your overflow. You do want that. Like I said, if it's time, money, energy, you never want to give anything away to where your cup is going down. The next step is you always want to be, in my opinion, you might want to think about, I would suggest or encourage you to don't just stop at serving from your overflow. Remember, make sure that you are in a big enough space to where you can expand your resources and what your capacity to serve others. So, if you're thinking about money, let's say it takes you, I don't know, 20 grand a month to maintain you. You don't want to start helping people until you get to like 30 grand a month. That's your overflow. So when you're at 30 grand a month, people can start you can start helping people. I think a lot of people get stuck, oh, 30 grand, I'm good with myself and I can help others. But why? When I believe the creator of the universe, God has built you for more. And if you have not left this earth yet, there's more for you to give. So why not say, oh, I can operate on 20 a month. Hold it, water. Be good now. We're almost finished. I can, yeah, 20 a month is cool, but let's see what 75 a month will do. You see, like that is still a stretch. It will still take you, some work for you to do to hold that capacity. But you think about who you can still serve, because at some point that 30 grand, the more you started, knowing about yourself, being exposed to different ideas, because God doesn't stop giving you ideas and more things to do or more people to help, that 30 grand is gonna be like, you're gonna start feeling restricted. So before you get that's what I'm took me 38 minutes to say this. You don't want to get to the point where you start feeling restricted. Your overflow shouldn't start feeling restricted. You want to get to a place where your overflow still has room to expand. All right. So while having 20K and 30K is good, why not say, well, you know what, 20K is good for me, but let's see what I can do with 75K a month. All right. I'm going to end it right here. I really, really do hope that made sense for you. If not, I'll have to come back and do a full on, a full on, maybe I'll do another one. Maybe I'll do a part two. If people ask me the right questions, I'll do a part two. But I really do hope that resonated with you in some way, that life coaching isn't just, in my opinion, life coaching isn't just about fixing your life, uncovering, well, you're not broken, but you know what I mean. It's not about just getting yourself together. You're getting yourself together to be of service to others. That's pretty much why we're here on this planet, is to have more impact and influence, or we need more income to do that. Because my coaches say when good people do well, they do more good in the world. You want to make sure that you are solid in your state so that you can build your capacity to support others. Now, you may not be out here trying to be a Mother Teresa, but who needs you in your community? You're getting yourself together for you. Then you're solid and you are great for your family. You're a great wife, husband, spouse, parent, sibling. You're solid on your family. Then you can show up fully, and giving to your family, that's your overflow. But then you may say, well, I do work in my community, in my neighborhood. Cool, but what about your state? Or okay, maybe that's too big. What about your county? you know because I don't want you to think that you have to have this grand old vision. Everyone's not out here being Mother Teresa, and that's fine. Mother Teresa, that job has already been done. So, but you can be the best expanded version of yourself. So maybe, God placed in your heart is you are serving your county, right? That's an expanded version of just being outside of your neighborhood. All right. So you're being you're filling your cup for you. You're serving from your overflow for like family and friends, but you're expanding your capacity for think of your neighborhood, your county, and we can go your state. All right. I'm gonna leave it right there because I get super excited. I really do hope that makes sense for you. If you have questions, I think I have the live chat that'll be available for the replay so I can come back. If not, just comment and I can still see your comment if you have any questions or want me to clarify anything, or if you want more. I wanted to do the demo so you could see it, but I can come back more officially if need be. All right, so I'm going to end this. Thank you so much for joining me on Teaching Tuesday or wherever you are in the world. And remember that we need you to be well. We need you to be empowered. We need you to be bold. And most importantly, we need you to be brilliant. Until next time, bye. All right. I'm pausing like that was my like it was my recorded video. I'm going to end this for real. Thank you so much. Have a good night, good day.